It's Brother Arnold back. Something cut me off. I don't know. Maybe the devil's trying to does that. But this goes on to tell how the calendar became political. And that might be the reason that some added this to the book of Enoch, maybe a political hack, a religious hack. And it explains that could explain how Enoch come up with 364 days in a year when it is scientifically fact that there are approximately 365 and a quarter days in a year, which any person can prove for themselves by marking a star at some point in the sky, and it will take 365 and a quarter days for it to come back to that point. Now, a year, a biblical definition of year is a revolution. Either way, the book of Enoch was either tampered with or written by another Enoch long after the Bible Enoch, the seventh from Adam, walked with God. And on top of all of that, it does not matter who wrote it or added to it. It is not teaching that the full moon is the new moon, as some suggest. Most of the parentheses that are my comments, they're put in parentheses so you don't think I'm trying to pull something. Listen, at the end of chapter 41 of Enoch, we read, "Beginning of the world, and I saw the chambers of the sun and moon, whence they proceed, and whither they come again." That's got to be referring to the conjunction points. That's my comment. "And their glorious return, and how one is superior to the other, and their stately orbit, and how they do not leave their orbit, and they add nothing to their orbit, and they take nothing from it. And they keep faith with each other in accordance with the oath by which they are bound together. At first, the sun goes forth and traverses his path according to the commandment of Yahweh of spirits, and mighty is his name." And I put in parentheses, hallelujah. And after that, I saw the hidden and the visible path of the moon, and she accomplished the course of her path in that place by day and by night, the one holding a position opposite to the other before Yahweh of spirits, and they give thanks and praise and rest not. Listen, for unto them is their thanksgiving rest, for the sun changes off for a blessing or a curse, and the course of the path of the moon is light. That's talking about understanding to the righteous, and darkness to the sinners, in the name of Yahweh, who made a separation between the light and darkness, and divided the spirits of men, and strengthened the spirits of the righteous in the name of his righteousness. Remember, it says in Jeremiah 23, 5 and 6, it says, Yahweh, our righteousness. Listen, for no angel hinders, and no power is able to hinder, for he appoints a judge for them all, and he judges them all before him. Now listen, here it is. In chapter 78, we read, the sun, where it's talking about the sun and moon, the waxing and waning of the moon. Now see if you can catch this. It's real simple. And the name of the sun, or followed the first, it's got some name there, and the second, Thomas, and the moon has four names. The first name is so-and-so, and the second so-and-so. I'm not trying to remember. You can read it. The third so-and-so, and the fourth so-and-so. These are the two great luminaries. Their circumference is like the circumference or circle, that's circumference, of the heavens. In other words, ain't no flat earth. And the size of both alike. They're the same size. Listen, In the circumference of the sun, there are 7 portions of light which are added to it more than to the moon, and in definite measures it is transferred to the 7th portion of sun is exhausted, and they set and enter the portals of the west and make their revolutions by the north and come forth through the eastern portion on the face of the heavens. And when the moon rises, 1/4 part appears in the heavens. That's when the moon's rising from conjunction there. So it'd be a sliver, it'd be a 1/14th part, 1/14th apart. And that's when it's rising. It says that, then I didn't put that parenthesis there, the light becomes full in her on the 14th day. In other words, it takes that long of the building of the moon before she accomplishes or becomes full of light on the 15th day of the moon. That's talking about from the conjunction to the full moon, 15 days. And that's it. The moon wasn't full until the end of the 14th and beginning of 15th there of its building. And it goes on to say, and 15 parts of light are transferred to her, talking about the moon, till the 15th day, when her light is accomplished, according to the sign of the year, and she becomes 15 parts. That's halfway through its cycle of waxing and waning. That's what this whole chapter's talking about. And the moon grows by the addition, I put here, of 14th parts. Enoch is describing the course of the moon in increments or parts, obviously from conjunction with the sun until full on the 15th of the moon. Those are my comments. Goes on, it says in number 8, and in her waning, talking about the moon, she decreases on the first day, talking about the first day of her waning, not the first day of the full moon being the new moon, but the first day of her waning, to 14 parts of her light. On the second to 13 parts, I put day in there, of light. On the third to 12, on the fourth to 11, on the fifth to 10, on the 6th to 9, on the 7th, talking about 7th day, to 8 parts, on the 8th day to 7 parts, on the 9th day to 6 parts, on the 10th day to 5, on the 11th to 4, on the 12th to 3. She's going away, I put that in there, on the 13th day to 2, on the 14th day, talking about day, 14th day of waning, to the half of a 7th, which would be 3.5, or very little, and all her remaining light disappears wholly on the 15th day. You see that? All of her light disappears on the 15th day. That ain't talking about the full moon, that's talking about that conjunction. On the 15th day of her waning. Waning means going away, waxing means building. And after the moon waxes, or growing from conjunction with the sun, and it's waning from full moon, the process begins anew. And it goes on in verse 9, it says, and in certain months, and this is where I discovered the description here, and in certain months, the moon has 29 days, and once 28 days. Well, that, I remember my studying the calendar, the history of the calendar, that's when Julius Caesar and them was working on it, and that happens in February. Enoch's supposed to be done gone. And that's what woke me up to a later date, written after Enoch was gone. This was all being discussed during the time of Julius Caesar. Way after Enoch, it says in verse 10, and Uriel showed me another law when the light is transferred to the moon, and on which side it is transferred to her by the sun. During all the periods during which the moon is growing in her light, she is transferring it to herself when opposite to the sun. During the 14 days, her light is accomplished in the heaven, and I didn't put that parenthesis there. And when she is illuminated throughout, her light is accomplished full in the heavens. Now, I'm going to skip on past my comment right here. It says, and on the first day, it ain't talking about the first full moon's the first day. Listen, it's her light throughout the heavens. Enoch is describing how the moon is growing in her light, which has to be from conjunction to full moon. It has to be. And then he says, and on the first day, talking about the first day of her growing at conjunction, she's called new moon, not the full moon. It proves it right here. It says, because on that day the light rises upon her. That's why it's new moon. That's when it's old one ends and the new one's beginning. And that's light first rises on her at new moon conjunction day and continues to rise on her for 14 or 15 days till full on the 15th day of the moon/month. Some are trying to say that the first day when the moon is full is called new moon. But that's not what this is saying. Verse 13, she becomes full moon exactly on the day when the sun sets in the west, and from the east she rises at night. Now that's true. And the moon shines the whole night through. All that's true, rises over again. Just like it's true about her light begins on a new moon, a day of conjunction. It's seen over again in verse 14. And on the side which the light of the moon comes forth, there again she wanes till all the light vanishes. Talking about after the full moon, she starts waning. And all the days of the month are at an end. That's from conjunction to conjunction. It's always been that way. Notice it's teaching that the month does not end until it gets through waning. And by default, a new month begins to rebuild at conjunction. And her circumference is empty. In other words, it's void of light. That's when the new moon, the old one ends and new one begins at conjunction. Number 15 says, in 3 months she makes 30 days. At her time she makes 3 months or 29 days. And I don't understand that. In which she accomplished her waning in the first period, in other words, of time, when is accomplished or finished. The first period of time begins, again, this is my comment, it begins at conjunction. And in the first portal of 170 days, and in the time of her going out, she appears for 3 months of 30 days. Each of the 3 months appears 29 each. I don't get that. And at night she appears like a man for 20 days each time, and by day she appears like the heavens, and there is nothing else in her save her light. Now, I want to read on down a little bit, almost through chapter 79. And now, my son, I have shown thee everything, and the law of all the stars of the heavens is, and he showed me the laws of these for every day and for every season of bearing rule, and for every year, and for its going forth, and for the order prescribed to it every month and every week, and the waning of the moon, which takes place in the 6th portal, for it is this 6th portal, her light is accomplished, and that got full moon. So then the waning of the moon takes place in the 6th portal, for in this, talking about 6th portal, her light is accomplished. I don't know why I put full moon there. And after that, there is the beginning of the waning. Okay, after the full moon, she begins to wane after all of her light is accomplished at full moon, yeah. And the waning which takes place in the first portal in its season till 177 days are accomplished, reckoned according to the weeks, 25, and in 2 days, she falls behind the sun and the order of the 6 stars exactly 5 days in the course of one period. He's adding in the calculatory days. And when this place which thou seest has been traversed, such is the picture and sketch of every luminary which Uriel, the archangel, who is their leader, showed me. And then it goes on to chapter 8. But anyhow, it's definitely not saying that the full moon is the new moon. But I'll put all this down below so you can look through it and examine it. Till next time, may Yah richly bless you. Shalom.